Colin Mangham, an individual who, if you search him on PubMed, has never published a single research study involving a human subject, said, an informed critique is made up on the specific published Insite evaluations. The published Insite evaluations overstate findings, downplay ignored negative findings, report meaningless findings, and overall give an impression the facility is unsuccessful when in fact the research clearly shows a lack of program impact and success. You remember that 49 of 300 and something number and the 11%? Well, Mr. Mangham couldn't even get the numbers right. Guess what he said? He said, the problem with our Lancet paper is we didn't recognize, we didn't acknowledge, and we weren't open about the fact that 50% of drug users in our study shared syringes. It's not 50%, it was 49 individuals of 300 and something, that's 11%, not 50%. But still, it made it into this journal, the Journal of Global Drug Policy and Practice. And it's funny, you know, because I woke up one day to a bunch of emails from colleagues around the world in Europe and Australia who had seen this before I did, and we all publish in addiction journals, and someone said, what is the Journal of Global Drug Policy and Practice? I've never heard of it. And as I read down the emails, people had started to look into it. Well, guess what? The website was registered to Drug Free America Foundation. If you found the journal office, if you phoned the journal office, you got a Florida office of the Drug Free America Foundation. The journal is simply an online website posing as an open access scientific journal. None of the papers report original analyses. They're all simply reviews, which are rants saying harm reduction doesn't work. And Garth Davies chose the same venue, surprise, surprise, to publish his fine analysis of our work. But what is the Institute of Global Drug Policy? Well, their mission states that the Institute is charged with creating and strengthening international laws that hold drug users and dealers criminally accountable for their actions. The Institute supports efforts to vigorously oppose policies based on the concept of harm reduction. I respectfully submit that this is not a forum for academic debate. This is a prop of a well-known international lobby group. But it did make headlines, these papers. It led to this editorial in the National Post. But unfortunately, not everybody was fooled. Everybody should read Peter McKnight's brilliant work in the Vancouver Sun. This was specifically about Colin Mangham's paper, and it said, it is imbalance when opinion runs as fact. A non-study is in an unjournal is an unscientific screed against Vancouver's Insite by a drug prohibitionist network. Well done here. And so on the heels of this, despite the fact that we were getting a little concerned about the antics of the likes of Mr. Mangham and Mr. Davies, soon the editorials in all the major newspapers started issuing headlines like this: Ottawa urged today's injection site decision on silence. However, it seems that not everybody got it. Perhaps the most distressing illustration of this came from Tony Clement's comments at the Canadian Medical Association meeting. What did he say about Mr. Mangham's work? There's been some more research done, and some of it has been questioning of the research that has already taken place, and questioning of the methodology of those associated with Insite. Clearly there's a debate going on, and clearly there is an academic debate going on. And the Canadian Police Association also kept up its antics. They recently released their magazine called The Express. This was the special issue which included their political agenda. And what was their political agenda? It was to launch a new anti-drug strategy. And in it, they brag about their face-to-face meetings with Stephen Harper, Tony Clement, and many other prominent cabinet ministers. And they go on to say, in Vancouver, police officers and citizens are seeing a rise in drug-related activities around the supervised injection site, other than those that use the facility, which to me doesn't make grammatical sense, but I'm sure they know what they're talking about. These types of programs are delivering the wrong message to our children and youth on drug use. It trivializes the use of illicit drugs when the focus should be on treating the people who need help, not encouraging them to keep using drugs. The supervised injection program has had no impact on reducing public disorder and has in fact created a safe haven for traffickers and fosters a sense of entitlement among drug users. I'm going to close up with a couple comments. You heard Tony Clement say that he was wanting new research on Insite. That has been now led by a Health Canada Expert Advisory Committee. And they have now, they've put out some calls for new research on Insite. And many Canadian researchers, based on our experience, chose to actually boycott these RFPs and submitted letters to Health Canada opposing the whole initiative. We wanted to boycott it too. We thought, well, we've been beaten up enough by Health Canada, why would we go back for more? However, our community partners urged us to apply, and so we did. I was offered one of these contracts. But it turns out that Health Canada initially sent me the wrong contract. It contained the stock Health Canada intellectual property clause, and they said that, oh, we sent you the wrong contract. It has the wrong intellectual property clause. So guess what? They sent me the exact same contract, but it had a different intellectual property clause. It said, the contractor shall not disclose or otherwise utilize any intellectual property arising from the performance of the work until such time as written notice of this approval has been received by the contractor from the Health Canada Project Authority, which is expected to be within 6 months. In other words, there's no definitive end date. It could be whenever or never. We shared this with our community partners, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users and the BC Persons with AIDS Society, and they said we can't support you in participating in this initiative. They put it in writing to the Health Canada. And then as I was about to forward these to Health Canada, I received a call from a lawyer responsible for government contracts at UBC who said, as a faculty member, you are prohibited from accepting this contract. It violates university policy because by taking this contract, you would essentially be agreeing to conduct research in secret for the federal government. So let's just review what we've seen so far around politicization and misrepresentation of science around Insite. We've seen interference in independent peer review processes, the halting of supervised injection site pilot research in Canada. As Tony Clement said, cities like Ottawa and Toronto and Victoria that want to have their own pilot site, they can't do that right now. There's been a use of considerable public funds to fund consultants or so-called deniers of the science derived from the evaluation of science, and our own federal health minister has run around citing the science at meetings such as the Canadian Medical Association meeting. There's been publication of sciences discrediting the Insite evaluation in fake open access journals. And there's been a placement of gag orders on new supervised injection site research by Health Canada. But we're not the only one concerned about the state of science in Canada. This is an editorial that appeared in probably one of the world's most prestigious scientific journals, Nature. It's titled Science in Retreat. Canada has been scientifically healthy, not so its government. I urge you to read it. It's focused on climate change. I'm going to offer you one closing thought. You might be asking yourself, why am I as a scientist up here talking to you about politics? Why am I up here complaining about the RCMP and the federal government? And I've had to ask myself the same question many, many times and thinking to myself, well, maybe I should just simply switch disciplines. I'll move to geriatrics, a less controversial field, and leave the politics to the politicians. But then I was very inspired by the words of a very interesting group who I encourage you to look them up. Just Google them and you'll get their website, the Union of Concerned Scientists. They said scientists and engineers have a right, indeed an obligation, to enter the political debate when the nation's leaders systematically ignore scientific evidence and analysis, put ideological interests ahead of scientific truths, suppress valid scientific evidence, and harass and threaten scientists for speaking honestly about their research. I want to close by acknowledging the many people who contribute to the evaluation of Insite and its operation, as well as our community partners. Thank you very much for having me.